Okay guys, we're going to now move into our last concept of our number skills unit, and it is exponent laws. So I know in grade 9 you started with exponent laws. We're going to go review them, and then we're going to actually dive pretty deep into this. Essentially what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to build up your ability to do some algebraic thinking. Thinking more with letters and less with numbers. Essentially the jump from 10C to 20-1 is a huge jump. Only a couple of our units in Math 10C actually deal with large algebra concepts. The rest is more number-based, whereas 20-1, every single unit is algebra-based. Whereas in 20-2, the level of difficulty and the types of units you get are very similar to Math 10C. So we're going to dive into exponent laws. If you really struggle with this, that's a pretty good indication that maybe 20-1 is not the place for you to go, that you should probably emphasize on the 20-2 program. But we'll talk more about the differences between 20-1 and 20-2 later on. Okay, so it's not so much a matter of, I don't really need you to know what each of the rules are called, I just need you to know how to use them. So before I just go in and give you the rules, I just want to show you where they come from. So the first rule is called the product rule or the multiplication law. And if we have a numbers example here, so 8 cubed times 8 squared. Well, 8 cubed means 8 times 8 times 8. And 8 squared means times 8 times 8. So if I look here, I've got 5 8s. So that's like saying 8 to the 5th. So what you'll notice here is that the base does not change, so that's referred to as the base, and the exponents were added. Okay? So if we look here with the letters, a to the 4th times a cubed. So what does that mean? Well, a to the 4th means a times a times a times a times a cubed means a times a times a. So what I've got here is I've got a whole bunch of a's that are multiplying themselves. So I have got 7 a's. So again, notice the base does not change. And what did I do with my exponents? I added them. So this gives us the product rule. So the product rule says that if we are multiplying, so quite often in this you'll see multiply shown as a dot. Okay, so first thing I need you to remember is that these are called exponent laws. They are not called base laws. The base does not change. Okay, the base stays the same. What changes is the exponent. And in this case, what changes? It becomes an a plus b. So your eyes are going to see a multiply sign, but your brain needs to add. On top of that, your brain needs to remember to keep the base the same. Now, one other thing to let you know in Math 10C, we don't give you the exponent laws, we expect you to know them. Okay, so you're going to have to remember these. Okay, next rule is called the quotient rule. So if you have 5 to the 5th divided by 5 to the 4th. So again, what I like to do with division is I like to write it, instead of horizontally, I like to write it vertically, like a fraction. So 5 to the 5th means I'm going to write out 5 times. And 5 to the 4th means I'm going to write out 4 times. Now in math, we have this handy dandy little rule that if everything on the top is being times and everything on the bottom is being times, I get to cross off everything that looks the same. So what I'm left with is 1, 5, or 5 to the 1. So notice 5 to the 5th divided by 5 to the 4th, my base stayed the same. But what did change? I went 5 subtract 4 to get 1. Now the same is true with the letters. So y to the 5 means y times y times y times y times y divided by y cubed means y times y times y. I can cross off everything that looks the same. So I'm left with y times y, which is y squared. So again, the base stays the same. And because I'm dividing, I subtracted the exponents. So, quotient rule says, if we've got x to the a divided by x to the b, the base stays the same, and we subtract the exponents. Okay? Okay. Next one is power rule. So just to go through this one with you, 4 cubed squared. So 4 cubed means 4 times 4 times 4. Squared means times it by itself. So 4 cubed squared means 4 cubed times 4 cubed. So what do I have? I have 6 4s. So if you notice here, the base does not change. And what did I do with my exponents? I multiplied them. So when powers touch, you times. So 6 squared all cubed means 6 squared times 6 squared times 6 squared. Or in other words, 6 times 6, 6 times 6, 6 times 6. So that's going to be 6 to the exponent 6. So again, the base does not change. When powers touch, you times them. Now this one's a prime example of why we have exponent laws. I don't want to have to write this out all longhand. I just want to know that I can keep the base the same, and when powers touch, I times. So x to the power of 12. So power rule says that when we have exponents, so when we have powers that are touching, we keep the base the same, and we multiply those powers. So those are your 3 main rules. So in Math 10C, we're going to actually introduce you to 2 brand new rules that you didn't see in grade 9, but we're also going to take it one step further. We're going to start combining rules. So power of a product, what this one means is, let's just look at this letters example here. So we've got a cubed times b to the 4th all squared. So you'll notice you've got different bases. So I'm just going to rewrite out my bases, because remember, bases do not change. Here I've got powers touching, and here I've got powers touching. So what you do is you go 3 times 2, 4 times 2. So it's A6 times B8. And that is the final answer. Because you can't add the 6 and the 8 because the bases are not the same. That one's called the power of a product rule. We can do the same thing with division. A squared divided by b cubed all squared. So again, the a and the b inside the brackets, I can't use my quotient rule because a and b are different bases. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my power rule. So I'm going to write a over b. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. And that's my final answer. Because again, I can't subtract 4 and 6 because my bases are different. Okay? So that concludes our introduction. So again, the assignment will be a worksheet this time. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do part B of a video here. I'm going to select several questions off of the worksheet to do and do those with you, do some samples, and then have you work on that yourself. Now, if you don't want to look at part B, if you already know how to do the questions on the worksheet, go right ahead. Always make sure that, again, you're doing these practices because it's going to be on the quiz, and the quiz is what's for marks. The assignments are just for practice so that you don't mess this up. Okay? All right, we will see you in the next video.